Well, this afternoon we're going to be looking at the Livescribe Pen, which is a resource for recording audio and taking notes at the same time. And we're going to be hearing from a student who's been using the Livescribe Pen over the last few weeks for his studying. Josh, this is Josh Duffy, who's a fourth-year civil engineering student at the University of Glasgow. Josh, first and foremost, can you tell us a wee bit about the pen? What is a Livescribe Pen and what does it do?
Yeah, the Livescribe pen is a dictaphone pen, but it's not just your standard dictaphone. It takes notes of it as you're writing. It copies what you're writing digitally, and it also records what's being said. Then, using a system of microdots, I believe, it can pinpoint the place on the page, and so you can quickly tap on a word, say, and it'll start to play the recording at that time that you'd written that word. This can then be easily transferred to a computer or even put online to be shared. So it's really a fantastic piece of technology. And,
okay. So what it allows you to do is take notes while you're writing down.
Yep.
Yeah. And then at a later point in time, go back and review what you've written and hear the information again.
Yep. Review what's been said while I've been writing.
Okay. So in your course of study, what areas have you been using this in, Josh?
Yeah, well, I've been trying it in two specific different areas. I've been doing it with one particular subject, which has lectures and tutorials. And then I've also, this year I've got my fourth year dissertation. So I've been using it to record my dissertation meetings. And really, I don't know how I would have done it without it. So okay. It's been very good.
So you have just now the Livescribe pen in your hand, and you have the microdot paper in front of you. So can you just show us what that might do?
Yep. So as me and yourself have been talking, I've been writing down some key words here. Let's not a lot, but let's. Now I've stopped the recording, and then we had a short introduction. So I tap on the. As you can see here, we've got controls down the bottom.
We're going to be looking at the Livescribe Pen, which is a resource for recording. Okay.
As you can see, you can hear yourself quite clearly. So it's particularly good for a one-to-one interview like this, and it's been great.
Okay. So from your perspective, you know, how do you find that beneficial for you? For example, you were talking about lectures.
Yes.
Okay. Why would a tool like this help you within a lecture situation, Josh?
Yeah. So in my course, I've got lots of diagrams and lots of lecture notes to take down. So what I've been finding is, particularly when it comes to reviewing my lectures, for me, I find it very difficult to listen to what's being said while I'm trying to write down. And I think that's something a lot of students have problems with. So being able to write everything, knowing that I will be able to review what has been said, and I can kind of concentrate more on knowing and on making sure that my notes are correct.
Yes.
It's also particularly helpful when it comes to diagrams. Often when you've got a diagram in front of you, when it's been shown in the lecture, you can understand what's being said because you can see it as it gets drawn out. But as you find often with conventional notes, when you go to review the notes later on, you're reading through them, you can't work out what bit's been drawn first or anything like that. But as we'll see maybe in a few minutes, when you're using the Livescribe pen and you put your notes onto the computer, it actually, as you're writing through it, as you're drawing the diagram, it will it'll show you in real time how you've drawn that diagram.
Right. Okay.
So it's very good.
So you're using it when you're taking notes. You can take down key points.
Yep.
and then at a later point you can go back and you can listen to that and add further notes to those key points.
Yep, you can just write alongside. It's as we said, it's normal paper, but you've got these key markings down the bottom, which the technology, I believe, it uses the camera on the bottom of the pen to pick up tiny micro dots on the paper, and so that's how it knows whereabouts it is, what page you're on, what book you're using, and whereabouts on the page.
Okay.
So,
you also mentioned drawing diagrams. Have you got any examples of diagrams that you can show us? Yeah.
Yep. Let's see if I can let me find a good page. This page is one. Yeah. So in this page here, we can see that obviously I've got lots of this particular subject has lots of formula. I've got diagrams, small diagrams that need to be drawn all the time. One thing that's worked for me is I've found, I'll show you here, as I go through them and review them perhaps, I've added color. It's not particularly to do with the Livescribe pen, but it just shows that you're not limited to use the pen the way that maybe conventionally is given to you. So by being able to write this down and review it, I can tap on this, I can hear my lecturer's voice, I can hear as they explain what's going on in the diagram, the parts I can see and hear at the exact same time very quickly. I can access the parts of the lectures that were being talked about.
Are you able to let us hear that? Is that possible to let us hear that just briefly? Yeah.
So the only problem is sometimes the lecturer will leave a big pause so you can draw the diagram.
As an engineer, you can't find solutions to all problems.
Yep. So you can press on that and you'll hear what was said.
Yep.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so you talked about your lecture. That was the one thing you're using it for taking notes in lectures.
Yep.
What other ways have you been using it?
Yeah, well, for my dissertation meetings, as I said, it's been invaluable. As I've been having my meetings with my tutor, instead of having to write down every word he says, or sometimes he'll say something that's maybe a little bit more technical than I could have time to write down. I don't need to worry about it. You know, like in a recent meeting, he said something like, "So what's crucial that you need to know is," and at that point I wrote down crucial. You know, like, and then later on when I come back, I just tap the word crucial. I don't need to write down what he said was crucial. I can just tap the word crucial, and then like it'll just tell me exactly what he said at that time.
Okay, so you've been using it to take notes. You've been using it to illustrate diagrams, and then when you go back and you click on that note, you can hear what the lecturer said. You can add value to what he said as well.
Well, if I wanted later on, then while I'm reviewing that, I could write down further notes at the side, or even I've been finding that just having the physical voice there, it's plenty. And obviously, it wouldn't be to everybody's fancy, like re-listening to every lecture you've ever had. So the good thing about the pen is, like, you don't need to, like with a traditional dictaphone, if you were to have it just sitting there recording, you'd often have to trail through loads of recording just to find the specific part you're looking for. But that's where the Livescribe pen really comes into its own. Because you just, as I say, you tap on the place and you're straight at the part of the lecture.
So it's different from a dictaphone. It's not just about recording the audio.
Yeah. I'd say, the thing is, I would say the part where the pen falls maybe is the audio quality. It comes with a set of headphones, I'll show you in a minute, but I find even with these, the audio quality isn't as good as a traditional dictaphone. But the fact that I'm still using this over a dictaphone just shows that where it lacks maybe in sound quality, it by far makes up for it in ease of use and discretion as well.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yeah. Do you find that using something like this is a bit less obvious than using a dictaphone or something like that to record your lectures?
Yeah, well, I have friends who use dictaphones in lectures as well, because we have a lot of information thrown at us, and it's a problem that lots of people find. But in their case, there's a taboo about using recording and recording lectures, and often people, I think the lecturers themselves might not appreciate it, even though I think it can be a vital tool. But I know some of my friends, they use them very discreetly, or they hide them, they keep them in their bags while they're recording, whatever. But this, obviously, it looks like a normal pen, and although my classmates and peers maybe have noticed that I've been using it, and they've asked about it, and I think everybody's impressed by technology anyway. So when I've been showing it and demonstrating it, I think rather than being they've been mildly impressed or jealous, you know. So it's not something that needs to be worried about.
Now you were talking as well about it being discreet. Now you've got the earphones function as well as a microphone.
Yep.
Right,
got them here.
Yep.
So it's it looks like a standard pair of headphones. It's not a 3mm jack, so you can't use your own headphones, but it's got the extra functionality of recording as well as
playback. So this
playback.
is like an environmental mic as well as it?
So doing a wee bit of research on it, the Livescribe guys say that there's a microphone in each ear. So what it does is it records it just the way that you'd hear things, which gives 3D surround sound. It sounds good, and in practice it's not quite as good as they make it sound. On their website they claim you can hear a pin drop at the back of a classroom. I think the classroom would have to be completely empty, and obviously you'd expect that, but it's not really practical in that sense in real life.
So if that's if these are environmental microphones as well, do you have it sitting like this when you're recording in a lecture, or? No,
well, for me, obviously, it's not. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So, the way that I personally have used this is I tend to tuck it up my sleeve and then have the headphones coming out my arm, and then I can just all I've got is this tiny little bit of wire trailing out, and it's not too bad.
Excellent. Okay, great stuff. Now, we talked about syncing it to your computer. Can you show us how you do that?
Sure, yeah. All it is this little docking station here. It connects to my laptop, and then it's magnetic, so it's very easy to use, and it also charges it at the same time. So this is the docking and charging station. All I do is I put my pin on. As you can see, it catches in there, and then immediately on the laptop it starts transferring.
So what you already have, and all those pages that are there, so the 55 pages, that's your previous notes that you have synced onto your machine?
Well, actually what you see here is these are actually the 55 recordings rather than lectures, or rather than 55 pages.
Yes.
So you can see here some of them are stacks, as some of them are just pages. So the stacks are where I've taken one recording over a lecture, but it's lasted maybe 4 or 5 pages. So one of the things I had when I started using my pen, I'm a usual guy. I didn't really read the instructions, a typical guy, just fired straight in. So when I did it, I wasn't too sure whether was I going to need to start and stop each page, or was I going to need to like stop it, record, turn it over, press record again? But no, as I say, it knows exactly what page you're on.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How it does it, I don't know. The technology baffles me.
Can you explain what's on the screen, and are you able to let us hear then how that has worked when you've synced it to your machine?
Yep. So what we have here is all of the Livescribe pen introduction, as we were starting to write there. So if I tap on that's Livescribe, or well, go to the introduction.
Livescribe recording pen, and we're going to hear from a student who's been using the pen for the last couple of weeks, really months.
Or you can jump between the different parts very easily just by tapping on my actual writing there.
So how would that benefit?
Sure that I get every word down.
If you're studying and you're reviewing your notes, what's useful about that then for you, Josh?
Well, as I said earlier, it's very, very easy just to access the specific parts I'm looking at. I find when I'm doing tutorial questions and I'm looking through my notes, sometimes I'm not too sure what a particular symbol means, or maybe how to use that. So when I'm reviewing my notes, I just find the place visually where I've written that down, click on it, and then can listen to what's being said.
So it's a great revision tool for you.
It's great, yeah. And what's really handy is, as I said earlier, obviously you're not going to want to listen to all your lectures again, but what you can do both on the computer and on the pen is speed it up. So you've got easily adjusted on the book here. We've got playback speed. You just, with the pen, tap the speed, and you can increase it to, I think it's twice as fast as normal talking pace. So, but you've got maybe several different, 5 or 6 different steps in between each, so you can find the speed that you can listen to it quickly, but still understand what's being said.
Or equally slow it down if you're...
Or equally slow it down. So, if you're trying to rewrite an equation, or just really think something through while it's being said, you can slow it down and hear what's going on.
Excellent. So essentially it's a tool that allows you to take notes and record audio while you're taking notes. It's the kind of tool as well that you could go back and add more notes to as you're re-listening to it. Also, it lets you sync to your machine and review and revise on your machine as well. Okay. From your perspective, you've been using this for 5-6 weeks now, maybe, Josh. If a student was thinking about a tool like this or a resource like this, is there anything that would you recommend it, or in what different situations would you recommend this for a student?
Yeah, well, I think anybody with a highly intensive diagrammatical note-taking, or even just lots of note-taking. I know for me, some of my lecturers hand me out printouts of their PDF notes, and you're adding to these. In that kind of situation, it's not really worthwhile. But for this particular subject and for my meetings, it's fantastic. I think it does depend. It's not a tool for everybody. And I think some people, again, even though it is quite discreet, it wouldn't suit everybody. And
probably quite useful for, I'm thinking about examples where somebody maybe who has even difficulties holding a pen, or maybe mobility difficulties, maybe keeping up with notes. That would be a really useful way of being able to record what you're saying as well, so that you can go back and add to it. Or maybe somebody who has difficulty concentrating on what's been said. They can take the key notes, they're really focusing on the key points, but they can go back and add to that at a later date.
Well, it's a perfect review tool for notes. And I wouldn't say, I'm not a lazy student, but I'm not the best student. But I find having a tool like this almost encourages me to go back and review lectures in a way that I probably wouldn't have done if I didn't have the actual recordings there. It seems, for me, sometimes it seems pointless to reread a lecture when maybe I'm not going to gain much more information than reading it originally. But if I, with this extra information of the actual lecture, playing as fast as I can read, like sped up maybe, it's like having that just ticking over in the background while I'm reading through, it really, as you say, reinforces it.
So it's a much more multi-sensory way of learning.
I believe so.
Josh Duffy, you're far too modest. You're not just an average student, you're a wonderful student. And I'd like to say thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.